You're live. Go ahead and run the
Yeah,
video.
I wanted to load up. That's what I wanted to do.
Okay, boys.
Welcome to New Tracks Modeling. New Tracks provides unique mentoring opportunities to enhance your modeling skills by connecting with talented modelers and manufacturers from around the globe who generously share their knowledge and artistic expertise. Build your confidence, refine modeling techniques, and share your projects with a supportive community of fellow modelers, all while enjoying the world's most rewarding hobby. Join us every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern on Zoom and YouTube for our free live program. Missed a program? No problem. Individual show segments are uploaded to YouTube for convenient on-demand viewing. Be sure to connect with the New Tracks community by joining the New Tracks Facebook page where you can interact with other modelers and see what they are modeling. Visit our website at www.newtracksmodeling.com, where you'll find information about upcoming events and the latest issue of our monthly newsletter, Observations. And now, here is the host of New Tracks Modeling, Tom Farrell.
Good evening, and welcome to New Tracks Modeling, coming to you live on Zoom and YouTube, as we do every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern. We're pleased you're joining us. Before we begin tonight's program, I want to take a moment to reflect on the incredible response we're getting on our New Tracks Modeler magazine, the digital magazine that was out June 1st as a premiere issue. To date, the feedback is extraordinary, 100% positive. We've logged over 3,000 views so far, and the momentum shows no sign of slowing down. I'm working on the second issue, and it's going to be even better than the premiere issue. And most interesting is the bulk of the content is written by first-time authors to New Tracks Modeling. Additionally, I'm proud to share that our subscriber base for the magazine is growing. We have 9,000 readers, and we're just getting started. That's 9,000 subscriptions. Whether you're a seasoned modeler or just starting, or enjoying the hobby and creativity of riding the rails, you're welcome here. This broadcast and our 5 platforms are part of a larger vision that Jim Kello, our New Tracks mentor and master model railroader, started. All New Tracks platforms are free to participants, powered entirely by a team of volunteers dedicated to the model railroading community. I also want to point out that New Tracks Live is running just about 10% ahead of last year at this time. So we're growing, perhaps not at the rate that I would like, but it's better to be growing than to contracting. Before we get tonight's train rolling, let's hear a word from Brennan's Model Railroading for sponsoring this evening's program.
Tonight's New Tracks Modeling Meetup is sponsored by Brennan's Model Railroading. For over 25 years, Brennan's Model Railroading has been offering unique products focused on the O-scale market. Their flagship product, Brennan's Better Ballast, was an instant hit and continues to be the industry leader. The prototypical size and natural color blend of real crushed granite make it the choice for discerning modelers. Since then, Brennan's has developed a complementary line of natural ground cover materials. Brennan's also has craftsman kits that anyone can build. The complete photographically illustrated instructions assume you've never done this before, and explain in step-by-step detail how to create an outstanding model. The Frank Ellison Tribute series of kits are amazing additions to any layout. These kits take Frank Ellison's scratch-built iconic structures to a new level using modern methods and materials with Dennis Brennan's additional details and amazing instructions. See the complete line of products on the Brennan's Model Railroading website. Use the QR code to visit.
I encourage everyone to support Brennan's Model Railroading. He sponsors this year's show, and without his sponsorship, we couldn't cover our expenses. Our expenses are minimal, but we do have them. So support Brennan's Model Railroading. Now I'd like to look at what's ahead on tonight's show. If we could see the program. Want me to show it? Okay, so I hope you can see this. This is our normal thing, but this evening we're going to have a new presenter, Stu Gralnik. He has a company called Model Building Services, and his axiom is accurate scale models from photos and drawings. We'll do a 15-minute interview, and then we'll switch to his website and look at some of his work. His website is extensive. He has models in all scales, and they're quite remarkable. Then I'm going to feature the Eberwine coal mine. This is the 5x5, 5-inch by 5-inch winner from the Harrisburg NMRA meet that was held just this past Friday and Saturday. And then on that same theme, Steve Sherill, what's on your workbench? He's going to show the goodies that he got from the Harrisburg NMRA summer meet. And then we're going to do an open discussion. What's on your workbench? I'll host it with Steve Sherill as my assistant. And then the show closing with Father Ron and the Caboose. So we're sticking with the theme that I'm going to try this open forum, see how that works. And it was quite good recently. Well, before we do Stu, I'd like to run our scholarship video and tell you a little about our scholarship program.
The New Tracks Modeling Mentoring Scholarship is the only national scholarship for model railroaders from a volunteer nonprofit organization. For academic year 2025-26, we are awarding three $2,000 scholarships for model railroaders pursuing a STEAM degree. We hope to award a similar number of scholarships for the 2026-27 academic year. We believe it is critical to support the next generation of model railroaders. You can support the New Tracks Modeling Mentoring Scholarship by donating online using the Zephy platform or directly by check. All donations are tax deductible.
We are actively working on exploring the possibility of reincorporating the 4 of the 5 New Tracks modeling platforms into a nonprofit where anything above our costs to run these programs would get filtered into the scholarship program. We're not entirely sure we can do this, but we are exploring it at the moment. Meanwhile, we're going to award very shortly 3, possibly 4 $2,000 scholarships to STEM students. They've been selected by the committee and by the board approved. Once we get all our I's dotted and T's crossed, we'll make the announcement. And then over the course of July, we will feature each one, July and August, we'll feature the scholarship winners one at a time in a open format where we interview them, show you their modeling, and give you, the donors, the opportunity to speak to the STEM students who are model railroaders. As we pontificate on and on, the youth are critical to the ongoing success of the hobby. And at New Tracks Modeling, we want to do our part to encourage model railroaders who are STEM students to continue their hobby after their college days are over. And some of them actually, a lot of universities actually have model railroad clubs. Penn State, my alma mater, has one. Purdue University has one, and I'm sure there's many others. So a lot of these student model railroaders can continue their hobby while in school. Anyway, I encourage you to continue to make donations. I will not berate you again, but $10 matters, and won't hurt any of you to make a $10 donation. And if we had 1,000 people donate $10, it's $10,000 that would easily fund our program for next year. So now I'd like to begin the program. We've got a new presenter, somewhat new to New Tracks. He's been on a few shows here, but not presenting. Stu Gralnik. He has a business, Model Building Services, and that business creates accurate scale models from photos and drawings. Welcome to the show, Stu.
Thank you, Tom.
So what we're going to do is do a little interview, and let's start with the obvious. How did you get into model railroading?
Obviously, as a kid, had the layout in the basement with the Lionel trains running around on an L-shaped layout. And then we kind of finished that, put that away about 14, and then skipped to when I was teaching in Massachusetts, and started building a layout in the basement. Brought my trains there, and that was in the 70s. But really didn't have my first layout till around 89, when we were in California and had a garage. And I joined Empire and Eastern, which is a TTOS group in Albany, New York. And they were using what's called tin plate trackers module. So I had a tin plate trackers module, which was these 4-foot sections. I had 3 of them, and with the Lionel track. And I started doing my buildings basically with just plastic, though, that I would buy at the train shows. And, I started kit bashing them, taking together different parts from the different kits. And I'm planning on doing a talk later on just featuring that. Moved that out to California, started work. I was a cabinet maker back then, furniture maker. And then I worked with a layout builder out there. And then we moved back east to Salem, Massachusetts, or Lexington, Massachusetts, and in 98. And because I had worked with a layout builder out there in California, I knew that people were willing to pay the money for buildings. So I got a bunch of kits together. This was the first time then in 98 that I was actually building more than just plastic milk kits. And for clients, I made a bunch put together and then took them down to the York train show in Pennsylvania. Started doing that in 98 and have been doing it ever since. My clientele is all over the country. I did start a website, which we're going to look at today, and then eventually just went over to Facebook. The Facebook page is a public page, so if you're not a member, you should be able to get into it. But otherwise, the modelbuildingservices.com is a totally public page that I've been using.
So you presently live in Massachusetts? Is that
correct? We moved from Lexington to Salem, Massachusetts.
Mm-hmm.
If people were on last week, they saw me showing a model of the Friendship of Salem. I started volunteering on that ship back when we moved out here, and have been doing it ever since. And before that, I'm proud to say I was 8 years as a National Park Service volunteer in San Francisco. So I now have over 30 years as a volunteer for the National Park Service, which I'm pretty proud of.
That's terrific. About your modeling, interesting. I was speaking to our founder, Jim Kello, today, and even kids today, youth today, sometimes get their start with Lionel, just as a little note. And so many of us have. What do you presently have a model railroad, and what scale do you model?
Yeah, I have a O gauge layout, Lino, 3-rail, triple rail, but it's no longer just, the traditional Plasterville buildings. What I've done over the years is I would build a kit and then I'd buy another kit. So my layout is actually a pretty almost high rail, I guess you'd say, for
That's, yeah.
very as realistic as I can make it, even though I'm running 3-rail track.
The conversation I had with Jim Keller today was precisely on that there has been a shift in Lionel. Many modelers today do scale model railroading with the 3-rail system, and the locomotives that are coming from Lionel are just magnificent pieces of art. They are highly detailed and are loaded with electronics, and you're not alone out there with your scale high rail O gauge layout. So
Yeah.
do you have a particular time period that you favor?
I pretty much picked the 60s, only because that was where I really like when I tell people, they say, what year are you modeling? And I say, well, basically it's based on what my vehicles are. I'm not a real crazy train, has to be, this train only ran during this year. To me, yeah, my trains are kind of a secondary toy thing. My auto vehicles are mostly 60s vehicles. So that's kind of what I picked, you could say, for my layout. That way I can run the steam and I can run some of the early diesel engines that I have. And again, I don't, it's mostly New York Central engines that I have. I do have 2 TMCC K-line engines, and I can someday at a future one I can show pictures of it on my layout. If you go to it, you can actually see some pictures of the layout on my website.
Now, it seems to me that you probably your greatest interest is in structures. Is that a faces?
Yeah, it's building the structures.
And when did you start making buildings for clients, and did this ever become a full-time occupation, or where are you these days with your company?
Yeah, I started building for clients back in 98 or 99 when we moved here and I went to the York show. The first buildings I did were all kits. A lot of downtown deco and who's the other? Can't remember names of them. But anyways, yeah, I started out mostly in kits, and then eventually I started having people asking me about doing something scratch built.
Now, based on your website, you model in. It looks like you make models in HO, S, and O. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah. I don't go any smaller than HO.
You ever do it?
A couple of G gauge.
Oh, you have did a couple of G gauge. And what, if I may ask, what do you have, a laser cutter? Do you have a 3D printer? How do you do?
No, I never had the patience to actually learn doing CAD. I was a school teacher for a while, so I taught architecture. I taught drafting. So I have the abilities to hand draw something. And one of the buildings where we're going to talk about tonight, I actually did all the drawings by hand just to figure out how to make the structure. But then for laser cutting and CAD drawings, I go with guys that know their stuff. I started out with Alan Godey from Twin Whistle Design that a bunch of guys may have heard about. I've used a number of the other kit manufacturers that happen to have the time to feed me in. But then as some of them got more busy, I would just go from different kit manufacturer to kit manufacturer. But
So,
that's
so,
their specialty, and
yeah.
I pass, have them do all that stuff.
So basically your process is, you're doing work for clients, but you'll do a sketch. I assume you get client approval and then you'll take that sketch and give it to somebody to knock it out on CAD, or sometimes you'll just hand cut it, right?
Yeah, they'll do the CAD drawings, and then they'll do all the laser cutting, send me all the parts. And what's nice for them is they don't have to do instructions.
Yeah.
They just, because I've already figured all that stuff out. So they'll send me all the parts, and then I'll build all the models here and then ship them. Or some of the bigger ones that I couldn't ship, I would take down to the New York train show, and they would pick it up there.
Have you limited yourself, and I don't think you have you limited yourself strictly to model railroading structures, or have you gone off the track, so to speak, with some ships, boats, airplanes, et cetera, et cetera?
Yes, I got about 3 years ago, I got into RC tugboats.
Ah, yeah.
So I've made 2 RC tugboat kits, and then I've made some pictures of a pier that I took some of my leftover plastic buildings, kit parts, and made it into a pier that I could set out in the water and then pull up to it. And I actually hope to have some of those pictures in our talk about water coming up, where I will show my waterfront on my layout. And then some of the barges that were made for the waterfront are actually waterproof barges that I will run with my RC tugboats.
Wow.
I also, again, the tall ship Friendship, that's something else I'm working on. Having been a cabinet maker, furniture maker for 18 years, it's basically taking all those skills in a much smaller, easier on my body kind of.
Yeah. Well, hopefully you'll get some exposure here. Would you characterize the hobby in your eyes as still robust? Is it flat? What do you see out there?
For me, things basically died off at COVID. I had at the time I had 3 clients. I was doing their full layouts. Bob Lillistrand from Bob's Photo, many of you guys may know about, because I know he goes to Timonium and does a lot of other shows. He was building a layout of a paper mill from where he grew up, and I did a lot of the buildings on his layout from photos that he had. So I had him and a couple other clients, and then I kind of finished them off, and I really haven't picked up new clients since then. But I'm also, I'm not too concerned about it. I think some of it is when I stopped going to the York train show, I stopped getting new clients. Not saying that I would never sell a lot of stuff at York, but people would see me and then come back to me 6 months, 9 months later, a year later, and say, "Oh, I'd like you to build this for me." So, I'm not sure why I'm, not getting a lot of clients, but I'm happy with that. I'm fine. I also, going along with the Friendship, is I'm working on the full-size Friendship 3 days a week. I go and volunteer. So, I'm getting all that kind of fun stuff going on.
Well, sometimes we say work is overrated.
Yeah. Well, for me, it's never really been work. And also for me, I was always lucky my wife had a real job. So I could go ahead and do the stuff I really love doing and not worrying about, surviving on it, because I wouldn't have survived.
Yeah, well, it's an interesting way to make a living, and like you say, it's fascinating to do. Why don't we take a look at your website, look at some of your work. Let me get this up here in a moment here. Just a moment. Give me a minute here to get the website up. Okay, hold on. think this is it. Everybody see that?
That's it.
Okay. So this of course my number sheet mysteriously went away. This is modelbuildingservices.com.
Yep.
This the website, and what we're going to do is look at 10 of his models, and we're going to start with
So what you do when you go to, if you put in model building services, you're going to get this page, which is a one-page thing. It loads quick. Scroll down and you're going to see, go to my Facebook page or go to the web page.
oh, we don't want to do Facebook.
You're going to go to the web page.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. So the first one we're going to look at is number, and just as an outline, he has all his buildings numbered. You see the red number on the right. We're going to look at number 921 first, which is right here.
Yep. 921 is Meridian, Mississippi. My client was actually lived in Park City, had real good friends. I think that was the mayor there. And he wanted that for his layout. And because of this connection, he was able to get me a set of the actual drawings for it. Then, as you can see, scrolling down, when you get to the page and click on the image, it's gonna bring up a lot of pictures of it. And you're gonna see pictures of postcards. You're gonna often see, some of the details on it and, how it goes together. This one had to be sent out to Park City. So it's actually made in 3 layers, like 3 layers of a cake. So you have the top, which is like the roof detail, is 1 layer. The center section, which is the second or third floor, is another section. And then the gray on the bottom is a 3rd layer. And that way I could put it into 2 boxes and send it across country.
So tell us, what did you make this out of? What is this?
This was all CAD drawings and laser cut by Alan Godey of Twin Whistle. He uses acrylic, 1/4-inch acrylic.
So that's a 1/4-inch acrylic, and the blocks are etched, is that correct?
Yeah, he etched all the blocks into it. He also cut all the windows details out of, I'm not sure which actual material he used. It was like a 16th or 32nds thick wood or some other material.
And then you airbrush them as the painting?
Back then, when I could get polyscale paint, I was airbrushing everything. Once polyscale stopped, I stopped airbrushing and started using polyscale 2X paints, or not Rust-Oleum 2X paints.
There's some nice detail on it, yeah. Let's look at the next one, which is the Hotel Stonewall, which is building 920, this one here. Again, we have a postcard, and then we have the structure. You want to tell us about this one?
Yeah, on this building, because of what I had for images, which was just that postcard, I didn't have anything else showing the back or the other side. I was able to actually just send these images to Alan Godey, and then his CAD, he was able to square up the building and then take his dimension, size it, and then get his dimensions right off the photo. So like when you look at that front view, that's something he had actually done in CAD and then cut all the parts. And it's multiple layers on this. When possible, if I don't have to spend the time and charge a client to draw it, I'm not going to do that. If we can just square something up in either Photoshop or in CAD and then get our dimensions right off that, then that's what I'm going to do.
Is this one, this is S scale, as I recall?
Yep, this is S scale. And this is located next to Charlotte Station, which we're going to show in a little bit.
And this is also cut from acrylic, is that correct?
This is also acrylic, yeah.
Okay, let's look at the next one, Charlotte Southern Station, which is number 917. This one right here.
Again, this one is acrylic. Now on this one, because it's so involved, I actually did all hand drawings for it, and then sent him the hand drawings, and then he put them into CAD. And that worked out really well for us because I got a call about 3-4 months ago from Charlotte. Well, the client I built it for passed away, unfortunately, from cancer. And his wife donated this station and the Stonewall Hotel to Charlotte Mecklenburg Library. So they're building in Charlotte a new train station, and they want to put this on display in the station or in the building that's near the station. But what happened was the covered platform with the arch disappeared, and getting transferred from his widow to the library disappeared somewhere. So they wanted me to reproduce it. Alan from Twin Whistle hadn't kept the CAD drawings, but fortunately I had my copy of all the hand-drawn drawings for it. So I was able to just take pictures of them, send it down to Alan, and then he did re-CAD drawings and laser cutting for the arch and the covered platform.
Very nice.
And there is a picture, I think it's in this if you scroll up, of the two. It's kind of a photo mock-up, but it's of how the two were right next to each other. Oh, maybe it's in with the other one, but
All
yeah,
right.
these two were right next to each other.
Let's change the pace here and look at a O-scale chemical plant, number 913. Right here, and this has a story to it.
Yeah, the neat story about this is I built it for the client, and years later, I got a call out of the blue from a guy that from down south, in Texas, who makes these firefighting safety training videos. And he wanted to do a video of or a talk on fighting fires in a chemical plant. Well, because of security reasons, no plant would allow him to take pictures of their chemical plant. But this model was close enough that he contacted me to see if he could use these pictures in his presentation on how to fight chemical fires. So to me, the fact that somebody in that industry thought this was accurate enough to use it for that purpose.
When I was in the work for a company called Linda Gas, and I used to spend a lot of time at the Houston Ship Channel. We'd have to watch these safety videos, and they always ended with, and if you hear a siren, run out of the plant.
Yeah, my son, a tugboat captain down on the Houston Ship Channel.
Oh, how about that?
Yeah, that's pretty fun.
Now let's look at a O-scale passenger station, which is number 910. This is the Pasadena station in O-scale.
Yeah, now on this one, what's neat was this one was not CAD drawn. This one I used a material called expanded PVC, and which you can get now at Home Depot and Lowe's in 2 foot by 4 foot sheets. I would go to my plastic supplier, buy an 8 foot 4 by 8 sheet, have them cut it into 2 by 4 sections. But this one is all hand cut. Now, when I say hand cut, I didn't cut it with a knife. I have the one of the Micromark table saws. So what I would do is mark off and cut from the inside all my window openings. So this was not laser cut. This is all hand.
This is closed cell pink foam, as we say. Is that what you're?
No, it's not closed cell pink foam. This is denser than that. This is expanded PVC.
Okay, but I guess I don't remember.
The same PVC that if you go to Home Depot or Lowe's and get PVC lumber.
Oh, I see. I know what you're talking about.
Like,
Yes. Steve Bittinger, one of our presenters, works with materials like that or similar to that. Yes,
yeah. I use it all the time. It's strong. I can knife cut it if I had to, but generally I don't. And you know, it goes together with CA glue really nicely. So I did have, I think it was Alan Godey somebody had cut all my windows for me. But the nice thing, the special thing about this is, let's see, I know I gave credit. If you go to my website, you'll see I give credit to anybody that helped me or, you know, with where I did my research from. And I have, there's another model builder that I actually found had the full set of drawings for this. Unfortunately, I don't see his name here. But he's actually sent me a set of the drawings that I was able to use to build this.
Great. Let's take a look at another one here. This is also an O scale. This is a coal tower, number 905. This is
Williamson, West Virginia. It's in O scale. And if you look at the picture, just hold it on this picture. On the right, you see the image that I found, and I do give credit somewhere for where I got these pictures, most of it. But you can see how accurate we tried to be on this. We spent hours looking at pictures of the real one and figuring out, okay, what is this chute doing? What is this doing? The fact that there are sand chutes underneath, the fact that there are coal chutes underneath. He did send me a book that actually had the very top part of it, drawings for the corrugated metal. But everything else was me figuring it out based on the images that I could find in my research. This was not, and unfortunately for this, and if anybody has any idea whatever happened to this, he ended up donating it to some train museum or something. I don't know. I'd really like to find out whatever happened to it. This is the most involved piece I ever did.
It's a remarkable model, and I assume you use styrene for a lot of this?
This was expanded PVC.
Oh, look at that, huh?
Yeah. And then all the structural parts were plastruct.
Okay.
Plastruct beams, I-beams, and that kind of thing.
I want our viewers just to remember this. See this tower right here? Just remember that for the next presentation. Just take a look at that. Just a little side note. Okay. All right, let's look at a couple more, which is all we have time for. Let's see here. We're oh, sorry, went one too far. We're going to look at the Chama Cold Tower now, number 901. Now you said you've made several of these, and I've made
a number of these for clients.
Pardon?
The drawings that I got, you can see I give credit to ghostdepot.com. They posted all the drawings for it, and so I was able to get the drawings and scale them to O scale. Now, most of my clients were not narrow gauge; they were O scale guys. And what I found is when I built the first one, which is in the center, I did that the way the drawings are, which is actually for the narrow gauge. That one's actually mine. That's a picture on my layout. So when you look at the buildings in the background, it kind of gives you a very small idea of what my layout really looks like. But what I found is for guys running O scale, 3-rail or 2-rail trains, I've done for both 3-rail and 2-rail guys, I added 1.5 inches to the base. In other words, between the roof of the building and the bottom of the coal bunker, I added 1.5 inches, and that brought the chute up to the right height for them.
So
it's all stick.
You've made this in S scale and O scale?
No, I've only done them in O scale.
Oh, okay. That's a remarkable model. Excellent. Let's look at a machine shop. number 900, which has some nice interior detail.
Yeah, this was Kozak's machine from downtown Deco. And this went into, oh, I meant to look up the museum. It's a museum down in one of the Carolinas, I think, next to a tourist railroad. And actually, I should say on it in here. But what I did is I got all of the detail parts from Western scale models when they were making them. So all the machines are from that. And one of my favorite pictures is the guy on the working the lathe. And I kind of took that little corner section and that used that kind of as a logo thing. But if you look down at it, you can see that the roof is open because this is in a museum. It's about 6 foot from the viewer. And I wanted them to be able to see inside the building, but not just leave it open. So what they're doing is they're actually re-roofing the building in the model.
Oh, yeah, I see that down here. Yeah.
That gave the reason for having it open.
Let's look at one final one, and then we'll open up to questions. We've got the Stardust, which is number 48, which also has sort of an unusual model for model railroading, but I think this is more for a client, not necessarily a model railroader. Or what's the story here?
Yeah, it's a client who lives in Las Vegas. And this was the third layout I actually did buildings for him. And what he wanted was the strip from back in the time of, the Rat Pack. So by getting postcards and finding other things like that, in the top picture that shows a Stardust postcard and shows the building, and that's what I used to kind of reduce the scale of stuff. The Stardust sign on the building itself, if you look in the center, there's like a globe and there's some other round balls sticking out. Those are actually super balls that I cut up and added to the sign. And the way I got the sign was I copied from one of my images that I had and printed that out. The same thing with the freestanding sign of the Stardust. That was done using, I do, a lot, taking the image right off of the internet and photoshopping it and then putting it down. But if you scroll down, you'll see it is, there are pictures of it on the layout. I think I did about 3 or 4 or 5 casinos for him that are on the layout. And these are actually, if you go to the website, you'll see Steve's layout, and that I have more pictures of his layout on there. The other neat thing about it, if you scroll down, is there's a picture. It's a nighttime shot of the pool in the background of it. And what I did is I took one of the light sheets from the guy that does all the animated signs, which I'm sure people know about. I can't remember his name right now. But basically, he makes these sheets. So I took a sheet and then I found an image of water and printed that on clear and then put that on top of the light sheet to get the lit water. And that was kind of fun.
Excellent. Let's, does anybody have any questions for Stu? Remarkable modeling. Yeah.
But I didn't get to this level right away. These took me a while. And again, if you go on the website, the numbers go up because I would add new pictures at the top. But when you get down to the lower numbers, you'll see there are more downtown deco, more, other kit manufactured stuff there. But again, I had 18 years as a cabinet maker, furniture maker, which kind of helped. But you don't have to work this level. And that's what I want to stress when I do my talk on just kit bashing plastic wool. Anybody can do that, including kids.
Dude, this is Steve Sherill. I have a question. When a client contacts you with a prototype reproduction of a building in a certain scale, where do you go to get your information to get the statistical information to build that model?
Good question. I go right online. And what I would do is, if the building still exists, I will go to Google Earth, I'll just do a general search for the name of the building or have them give me an address. I'll go to Google Earth Street View. Once I'm on Street View, I can get my dimensions for the footprint from Google Earth. I can also often drive around the building, on Street View and get pictures for that in that way. The other thing I do is I will just do a Google, and I do all my searches are image searches, no matter what I'm looking for, because it's a lot quicker for my eye to pick up an image, and that's what I'm looking for. Mm-hmm. So like all those postcards you saw, I found those online, and then I eventually ended up ordering them. Any postcard that's on my website are postcards I bought. But so I'm using postcards, I'm using images from whatever I can find. A lot of libraries have them. I've gotten a lot of good images from the local libraries, again, online. That answer?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Hey, Stu, this is Bob Geldmacher. The expanded PVC.
Yeah.
Does that come in smaller pieces than 4x8?
Yeah, at Home Depot and Lowe's, I can get it in 2 foot by 4 foot.
Okay. And you're using 1/4 inch?
Both. I use 1/4 inch and I'll use 1/8 inch. For smaller buildings, I'm using 1/8 inch.
Okay.
For bigger buildings, I'm using 1/4. It's not, there is some flex to it, so you do have to reinforce it, but it cuts beautiful. I use that all the time for sidewalks, because you can literally, I'll cut a strip for my sidewalk, and then I can emboss the cracks and the lines between the different sections.
Mm-hmm.
Just paint it up, and it looks really good. It doesn't like to be sanded though.
Do they usually have that over where they have the sheet goods, like the sheets of lumber and everything?
Yeah. When how they sell like plywood in 4 foot, 2 by 4 foot sections.
Yeah, the handy panels.
Yeah, they're usually in with those.
Okay, I'll check that out. Thanks.
You do have to be careful. Some of them though have texture on them. But some of them are just a smooth surface or a smooth surface on one side, which is all you need. CA glue works real quick with it. And then I reinforce everything when I build with other glues on the inside.
Good, thank you.
Yep.
Stu, do you also build kits?
Yes, I do. Yeah, when you go through my website, I list who made what kit. So if you're going through a website and you see a particular kit, say, "Oh, I like that," even if for your own build, and I encourage people that build their own, go to my website, enjoy it, have fun. But you can then see who made the kit. It may or may not be available. If you go to my Facebook page, what I recommend is you don't just scroll down the regular Facebook page. You click on pick photos and then scroll down photos. It's much quicker. Once you find a photo of something you're interested in, you can click that, and that'll give you more information. But you can spend 20 minutes just going down my Facebook page, scroll. Okay. The nice thing about the website is I can talk to a client and say, "Yeah, what about this one on row 48 or 23?" So it's a much better system. I just reached a point where it was taking me too long to do it, and this was done in Netscape when I first started, and I never improved upon it.
Okay.
Well, thank you, Stu.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Appreciate you taking the time to do this evening, and continue to support the show and support his company if you have a custom need for a structure.
Yeah, any questions, even if you're just interested in building your own and want to know how I did something or what I used, all my contact information is on both the Facebook page and the website. The only thing I want to tell anybody, I do not answer the phone if I do not recognize the phone number. So leave a message. And then I will usually monitor it and call you right back if I'm around.
Okay.
So
Well, thank you. Thank you, Stu. Next up, we're going to feature the structure of mine, the Eberwine coal mine from the Harrisburg Narrow O summer meet, the 5x5, my 5x5 entry. But before we do that, I'd like to run the My Build video.
Don't miss the monthly New Tracks Modeling My Build event. My Build is where the modelers of New Tracks show what they have been building. See amazing modeling with some My Builds featuring specific topics for modeling. If you would like to have your models included in the My Build, please email your modeling photos to chriscourse@railrunner130@hotmail.com. If you are a first-time My Build participant, please include a photo of yourself.
I'd like a few words from Greg Cassidy, as Chris Course is not available this evening. Greg, if you don't mind saying
Sure.
a few words on this.
Yeah, I don't have a luscious voice like the lady, but talking about my builds, the next one coming up will be next week. It's June 25th, and this one will be on water. And I know Chris has a few entries, but boy, he could sure use some more. And it can be anything loosely based on water. He'd like you to get the photos to him by June 21st. And as she said, mail them to railrunner130@hotmail.com. Now, we are also going to be voting on the special themes for the 25-26 year. And if you haven't selected some to vote on, go to the website, the New Tracks website, and there's a link there where you can go and vote or even suggest topics to have for special themes. And the next My Build coming up in July will be a free-for-all. And by then we should know what some of the future themes will be. So I think that's about it, Tom.
Well, thank you for that. And again, waterfronts, boats, bridges, anything with water towers, anything at all. And the more we have, the better the show. Okay, next I want to go through my presentation here. Everybody see that?
Yep.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Okay, so this is a companion structure I made for the Eberwine coal tower that I featured on and off the past year. Len Eberwine donated 5 or 6 of his best models to me, and this is a companion piece that I made, and I entered it in the 5x5, 5-inch by 5-inch, no height restriction contest at this past weekend at the Harrisburg Narrow O summer meet. And I took a first place, and I won it last year too with the Whistle Stop Saloon. So this is the tower. It is 33 inches high, and it's 5 inches by 5 inches. And this is an interior shot. The concept was to think out, in my mind, was to think out of the box. So it's 5 by 5, but there's really 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different layers to this thing. And kind of gives you a lot of modeling in a small space. And coincidentally, it fits right next to the Len Eberwine coal tower. So why aren't we going here? So the first thing I did is I took some 3/8 plywood, and I cut a base, and I cut a top, and I cut a back wall to give this thing some strength. And then I cut an interior brace out of a 1/8 inch material. And I'll show you how these go together. So I roughed, oops, it's really jumping around here. So that's the 1/8 material. This is 1/8 material on the sides, but this is really thick plywood on the bottom. So this was the concept. Of course, I had no plans. I just I just winged it from start to finish. Just had an idea what I was going to do, and here's what we got. So I know I wanted 2 vertical mine shafts running up. At this point, I didn't know how high they would be, but I did know that I wanted 2 of them, one for the miners and one for the ore cars. And I was going to have turntables down here to spin the ore cars. Initially, I was going to have 2 of them. Then I started cutting the sides, and I had this brainstorm to show a cutaway of the mining operation. Instead of having this square, I thought it would be interesting to show this view here. And then I began filling it with foam. That was going to be my mining walls. And I wasn't sure whether I'd have to sculpt mold these or just paint them. I was going to try and just paint the foam and see how it looked, so it wouldn't be such a pain to put in sculpt mold. So I began adding the foam, and I used a yellow woodworking glue, and I found I had to clamp it. I had these brass clamps that 4 of them, and they seemed to work out well. I would glue one side at a time. When it would dry, I'd remove them. Just kept putting foam in everywhere. At this point, you can see I have foam on the ceiling, foam on the walls, and foam on the ceiling. I used a plastic wood putty for this. I put a couple layers on here. You sanded it, you would never know it was 2 pieces when it's finished. These are just temporary braces to hold that foam in place while it dries. So at this point, the structure's looking pretty crude. And then I decided to work on the immediate floor below ground. We'll call that level 2 from the basement. And I constructed this 1/8 inch plywood framework here. I took one of Bob Gelmacher's shells, 018 shells. I cut it. I put in a floor here, and there's the roof. We'll get back to that in a minute. This is that floor you just saw. I put in track. I just took some end scale rail and some scale wood and just laid that in there. I found a photograph of a mine. I built this wall. The idea was, that's not a really good angle, but this is actually parallel and perpendicular. And then I had this little walkway in this door. So I put this railing up so the miners wouldn't fall down into the mine shaft. I painted Elmer's glue on here, added some ballast. There is Bob Gelmacher's Carroll Creek Designs engine. The idea was that this part of the mine has fallen in. We had a cave in here, and these are just foam and pieces of wood. Mine number, Lucky 13, little private joke. Now, interesting, that module initially had the ability to slide in and out. So I was going to have both of these slide in and out and put them next to the model, but I didn't want to violate any rules, so I wound up just gluing them in place. But ideally, these would have been sitting off to the side, and I could place them in and out at will, but I didn't, wound up not going that route. So I started painting it with gray acrylic. And then I had this, idea to put a light in there because I thought it'd be dark. So I used this brass tube. It's the ground wire, and I ran a hot wire through the top, and then I put an LED in there. It's powered by 2 AA batteries in the base of the module. That will last for 6 weeks. I did a test. It just runs and in fact, it never did go out. I just gave up after 6 weeks and recharged the batteries for the show. So I began working on the base layer 1. I wanted a little turntable in there. I wanted to get things, I wanted the mining cars to come down this track, get turned on this turntable, and then pushed into the elevator. That was the concept. So I took N scale track and you don't really see this. There's a little out of gauge here, but I put that track in nevertheless to put an ore car there. And I added the other N scale rail. Then I painted out around it, went back and touched all this up. Then I glued it in place. Let's put another photograph in there. And the mine shafts would go here. There's that electrical pole, just looks like a pipe in there. These mine cars were created by Andy Root, for some of you that know him. He gave me 4 of them that were 3D printed. That's the finished car. They come out pretty fair. I put foam in there and put some coal loads on top. I super glued them to the rail, painted everything rusty. And then I weathered everything. There's 3 of them in there. So it's starting to look like a mine now. You know, it's like you can almost feel the dampness and the coldness and the bleakness of a coal mine. And I'm going to jump to the finished mine right now. So as I say, it's 33 inches high. This was the final scene that you just saw. I added Artista figures. There's the mine shafts in there. They run all the way 33 inches high. Put these fire drums up here on a platform or fire for fire purposes. Elaborate structure to keep the ceiling from falling in on these guys. Up close to the Artista guys. I mean, that's magnified like hugely. I should go back and remove this fuzzies here. I was really rushed on this. I started this back in March and worked on it in evenings. There's the fire drums. There's the platform. A lot of elaborate woodwork in here. There's a lot of detail. The more you look, the more you see. This is going up to the next level. This is the cave-in level. There's the Carroll Creek design locomotive. A couple miners. They're clearing up the mess. The mine number 13. This is the elevator shafts here. That's a nice shot of the cave-in. There's a little LED light. This is going up to the surface level. This is another Carroll Creek design locomotive. I put this operator in there. Oh, looks like I got to fix that. You know, photographs reveal more than you want to know sometimes. This is the steel structure. I cut these. I don't know where I got them. They're very old. They're old style I-beams. This is technically an ON18 locomotive, but I made it ON30. I just put in HO scale wheels under here, and it passes for me anyway. There's there's one of the elevators there. This elevator on this side takes the mining cars up and down. The elevator on the other side is for the personnel. Now we're going up another level. This is the motor. This is the engine that runs this belt that runs all the way up here that powers these elevators. This is This is a combination wood and steel tower. It's looking down the shaft into the ground. There's the getting towards the top of the structure. This is the elevator for the miners. It'll hold 2 comfortably, 4 uncomfortably. It's a steel cage, basically. It's really a window. Laser cut window, but it looks like a steel cage to me. This is the pump house, or the pump house. This is the pulley assembly with the belt. This belt runs down that vertical shaft. These are the cable spools for this is the right-hand side for the people elevator. So there's the left for the mining car. There's the right. This is the quote gearbox belt assembly. This is unfinished. I haven't decided if cars are going to run, mining cars are going to run through here, or it's going to be an office. It's unfinished at the moment. There's a roof all beat to hell. This is what powers the elevator, a little steam engine. This is from Andy Root. Not sure where he got it. There's that mining car elevator. There's the back of the Carroll Creek locomotive. This is this steam engine powers a steam, or this boiler powers a steam engine in here, which powers this belt system. So that's it. What'd you guys think of that thing?
I saw it in life, and it's an incredible model. I do know that at the show they were a little concerned about it falling on someone. It's actually that tall. But it seemed like you had plenty of weight down at the bottom.
Yeah,
and I was showing the pictures to my son just today and describing the contest to him. And he said, next year, is it going to be 5 by 5 by 5?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
I last year with my Whistle Stop Saloon, I won that one, and that's when I actually thought of this. I wanted to do something completely different, and I thought of this last year at last year's show, and this year I thought of next year's model, which won't be tall, but I don't know how tall it'll be, but I have a great idea for next year. So anyway,
Tom,
yeah.
Pat here. I just want to know, what kind of weathering material did you use on this model?
Everything was stained with Hunterline driftwood stain, and then for all the wood.
Mm-hmm.
And where there were glue spots, I always go back and I match the Hunterline stain. I mix up a custom batch of some Elixir, some sort of acrylics. I just mix them till I get the same color as that wood, and I go back over all the super glue joints and paint them so you can't see any shiners. And the Carroll Creek design locomotives that are featured, they're just hand painted they're primered with Tamiya, that spray primer that I'm in love with, that non-filling gray primer. And then they're just hand painted with inexpensive craft paint, like obnoxious yellow. And then I go back with pan pastels and weather them. And the elevator, for example, the orange elevator, again, it was scratch built out of styrene and primed with Tamiya non-filling gray primer, and then painted with an orange craft paint, and then weathered with pan pastels. The other elevator was a laser cut, very thin MDF window material. I think I got from Rusty Nails or something like that. And I just made it into an elevator with a styrene top and bottom, super glued it all together, primed it with the primer and painted it with yellow and weathered it with pan pastels.
Thank you, Tom.
Yeah.
Tom, is remarkable amount of detail. I didn't fully appreciate the detail until I saw these close-up photographs. A thought for you for the top floor, having looked at some tram houses and the like, why don't you put a workbench up there with a bunch of tools scattered on it? All those machinery needs adjustment and work all the time. You could put a guy up there, tools and so forth.
That's a good idea. I'm also going to put stairs up to that.
Yep.
My wife said, "How do you get up there?" I said, "Well, you can't because I have to stay within a 5-inch by 5-inch footprint." But now that the contest is over, I'll put stairs from the elevator shaft to the up to that level, you know. So anyway. Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, Tom, have you got it on your layout yet?
It's sitting next behind me about 30 feet. It's sitting next to the Eberwine coal tower, but it's not installed yet. It's just sitting there. And but it matches and doesn't disrespect his coal tower. That's for sure.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see that when it's finished.
Yeah, I'll feature that when I get it in. Okay. Thank you, and appreciate all the compliments. Next up, we have a video from Steve Sherill. We recorded this. Let me see if I can get out of my. Hold on a moment here. We have a video here that we recorded, and I'm going to share it with you. It's and then we'll go live to Steve Sherill. Just give me a minute to everybody see that? Yeah. Let's see, enter full screen. There we go. Does that look better? I know we don't have much to work with. That was a joke. Good evening and welcome to What's on Your Workbench featuring Steve Sherill this evening. We're live at the Shady Grove and Sherill ON30 Railroad in Ranson, West Virginia. We're fresh off the Harrisburg NMRA annual model train meet, and we thought we'd come down here and visit Steve and visit his layout and film this segment. Steve, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Normally when we do this segment, we show models of what we've done. So just to keep going with that theme, I will show what I was going to show last week. I'm going to share today. It's an AHM, I'll call it a rescue engine house, which I cut down. So it's one of the AHM models, and I got it for $10. I put it together, and so that's the share for that. But what I really wanted to do was talk about going to Harrisburg and sharing and buying stuff. So this was a great show. And I had a great time. There were a lot of friends, old friends there. And what I do is I look for bargains like everybody else. But there were a lot of different things. One of the things that I came up with was I have an exchange with a good friend, Ken Dixon from England. Now, Ken and I communicate on Messenger quite often. He visits the United States once a year. And I told Ken that as an O&AT modeler, I was having trouble getting what I felt was the right size wheels and Pico Y switches and some Pico track. So Ken went ahead and brought some items to me. Now, in the previous year, I had shared and given Ken things to take back to England so that he could use and also exchange with his club that he's in. So there was a time in model railroading when we used to do this with cars.
I'll be right down.
Someone who lived in Nevada, let's say, or California. But in this case, we shared items that we both could use. So I sent some 3D printed stuff with him last year. And then when I told him I needed things, he brought them to me this year. So the wheel size that we were using was standard in scale. Now these are much larger. They're 4 millimeters scale, and they are quite a lot larger than the N scale that we're using now. In fact, I'm going to have to make some kind of modifications and adapt these because they are so much larger. Not much of a modification, but some. So he brought me some of those.
Let's see the package.
They come in packages like this.
Dundas models.
Dundas models. Address?
There we go.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, thank you, Ken. Of course, we have other things. From Warrior Run, I received from Ojevich box of Pico track. I went ahead and got the whole case or the box of this because I'm going to do a large 0-18 layout. So that was a good find. Now, there was a man named Calvin Witt. And Calvin is a young college graduate who has a 3D printer. He also does laser cutting boxcars and other cars also.
Yeah. And that kit looks like it has 3D printed stuff. It has laser cut wood and has MDF in there. It looks pretty complete. Everything but the trucks and couplers, I'm guessing.
He also gives you some hints as to what kind of wheel sets to use and trucks.
Where can we find those? Does he have a website on the other side?
He does have a website. I don't have that website, but if you look up Calvin Witt, I'm sure he'll be able to help you. He also 3D prints this box cab. Very nicely done. It is made so you take the 109 mechanism from Kato, it snaps right in. So you have your drive. He also has pre-drilled holes for the handrails, and he also gives you the glass for the windows. So this would be a great start to a completed model.
What does that drive typically cost?
Between $20 and $30, but I did see one advertisement where they were selling for $17. So I don't know what that advertisement was, but every once in a while you can get these things relatively cheap.
And the box cab, what is the cost of that roughly?
$15.
So for roughly between $30 and $40, you've got yourself a Kato drive. But Kato makes the drive, right?
Yep.
And from Amazon, you can do this for $30, $40.
Yeah.
Pretty amazing. Yeah.
Also, I got some pan pastels and I wanted some colors that would for some rust and some other colors just for general weathering. So the recommendation was on these colors right here. And I believe they were $8 a piece.
Yeah.
And he gave me the applicators. So I'm off and running, trying to, I'll try something new. I've not ever used Japan pastels. So you can see I'm having a really good time at the show. Now, this was something that I purchased before the show. Jeff Thornton, who's also on New Tracks, we were on a Zoom one night, and he and I were looking at some power blocks, and we came across these, and they were like $22 a piece, and we said, well, they can't be much, you know. And they came in a set of 7, and so Jeff ordered them, and so we got them. Here's an example of what they call an 036, and it's from Caboose, I think, or Caboose, I'm not sure how you pronounce that. But it comes in a very nice container. We have tested this. It does run. The maximum voltage you can put in there is 6. It's really tiny. I think you can see it's on a piece of in-scale track, how tiny it is. Very tiny. And they had different wheelbases too. This is an 040, they had an 060. And we sent away for them, and Jeff got them in less than a week. We received those. So I don't know if Jeff wants to comment on those later on or not. Also from Jeff, he had come across these that was scratch built. And so he had 109 of these, I think he had come across from an estate, I believe. And so he was reselling these at the show. And he still has some, by the way. And if, Jeff, you want to tell them how possible they can obtain those from you? They have KDs, they have a passenger truck. The load can be removed. It's just a styrofoam. Looks pretty. And each one is numbered, and they come in sequence. So you can, I bought 5 of these. They roll nice. Everything is nice on those. Also, I got some stick-ons. They had 4 or 5 different ones, and they were like 2 for $5. And so I picked those 2 out. Very nice rendition on this one. I like that a lot. And it just gives us some information on the meat. Also, of course, I got a T-shirt. You have to buy a T-shirt, okay? That's a must. Now, somebody named Tom Farrell gave me this. And I was surprised because I don't usually get the ON30 annual. So now I have something to read, or my wife might read it to me.
This ON30 annual is probably their finest issue to date. It contains a cover shot of Gary Beatty's work from California, 2 articles from Gary in there, and there's a tribute article that I've written for Al Judy, and with a series of photographs I've taken over the years at his layout. And then there's probably another 6 to 10 articles in this magazine. But I encourage all of our viewers at New Tracks to, if they have an interest in narrow gauge, to pick up the ON30 annual. They support the hobby, they support the scale, and there's some world-class modeling in there.
Now from Carroll Creek, I received a lot of things. Carroll Creek, of course, is one of the sponsors here at New Tracks. They 3D print a lot of stuff. This year they have a water tank, which I'm going to modify, make less height in the tank. You can buy it with or without the concrete base stand. I bought it with because I always like to have the option. They're making small structures now, they're little depots. And so this comes with only 2 pieces, so an easy couple hour build and paint and that. So I also received a bridge. They're doing a girder bridge.
It's really well detailed. It has the it has plates in there and has rivet detail and looks like they've molded it in the black, or was that, was that painted or painted?
No, it's black.
It's black, so it comes pre-colored more or less, needing weathering. Really nice detail on that.
Also, everybody needs exhaust stacks for your diesels. You can see this is only $3 for a package of 8. And they're different kinds, different shapes. So I've got some use for those. I'll put those to good use. Also, I got a whole bag of other stuff that they're producing now. They have a brand new porter that has a full cab now, not the smaller cab that was on the other ones. They had a misprint on a Shay that had the cylinder on the original Shays had the cylinders on the right side. There was a misprint and it ended up coming on the left side. So they printed that, they just completed the print that was in the machine, and they gave me one of those. Everything's the same, only the cylinder's on the wrong side or the left side. And of course, they have the flat cars with their new trucks attached. The only thing you'd have to do is provide your wheel sets. Another flat car. They had so many new items that it's really hard to describe everything. You need to see it all. Gondolas, the steel gondola. The truck, the parts that go on, different parts that go on the truck, different backs. They have all these things are new or are currently being printed and sold. So contact them. They've got a lot of offerings. Now, put all this off to the side right now. For a little more serious, I'm going to talk about this book right here. This book is written by Kevin McCumber, one of the original New Tracks members. An 0-30 modeler, does very nice work. Kevin has written this book about PTSD and how he dealt with it and just about his experiences.
Yeah, Kevin is has written this book and is trying to slow down and prevent every 22 minutes a veteran takes their life. And he's on a tour right now. He's written this book. He's been on television. He's gone to universities, gone to hospitals. He's gone to the military. He's gone to Annapolis. He's on tour promoting this book. I know it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with New Tracks modeling, but he's one of us, and he's a great modeler. This book is available on Amazon, even if you're not a veteran and you don't have PTSD. I urge you to take a look at it. Maybe you know somebody who is a veteran who could use the book or could use somebody that understands what's going on. I speak to Kevin several times a week. He's a good guy and a great modeler. Let's show a little support here and check out his book. We'd love to.
You know, this book is free.
Yeah.
There's no charge for this book.
Yeah, basically. Anyway, so thank you, Kevin, for writing this book, calling attention to PTSD, and we'll see if we get any response out of our viewers.
So we had a great time at the show. I don't know what the attendance was. There were a lot of new faces, new to me. I've been to all 14 of these, and I was encouraged to see that. So I met a lot of new people. And so.
Yeah, there was a modeling contest. They had a micro layout contest. They had a macro or mini contest for smaller layouts. They had 5x5 contests. They had rolling stock locomotive contests, and all in all, it was a very interesting show for everyone. And they're going to have it back next year in 2026, approximately June 13th and 14th in Harrisburg. So, Steve,
I thought one of the most touching parts of that entire show was the talk that Al's wife gave at the end. And it really kind of pulled it all together.
I understand you have plans of perhaps removing or remodeling part of it into ON18. Is that the idea with all this track and turnouts and such?
That's correct. I do have an area that I'm thinking about recreating into ON18. And I've got enough track and switches now. So all I have to do is get up the nerve to take the old stuff down.
Will there be any dual track, or is it going to be completely
no dual track?
Just an interchange of some sort, maybe?
No,
nothing. Just isolated.
I have no plans for that.
Okay, and I see when I walk around your layout today, there's just many ON30 locomotives. I assume you'll continue to run your ON30 layout, and you'll build up your ON18 fleet, I'm sure. Yeah.
Well, I already have about 10 or 11 of ON18 locomotives, so.
And they will, this layout, the ON30 layout, the Shady Side and Sherill layout is dead rail. And the new ON18 Poor Valley Railroad, I understand that will be dead rail as well? Or you can't do dead rail with that?
Well, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. ON18 is pretty small.
Yeah, so school's out on what, so that's analog, or whether it's dead rail. If you can figure out a way to do it dead rail, I'm sure you will.
But it might be dead rail.
It's something in a boxcar.
I haven't looked at it really close yet.
Well, let's hold that thought, and thank you for joining us this evening on this program. We'll follow with live with questions and anything you want to ask Steve. Obviously, he's on the show. Okay. Talk to you later. Well, now we're live again. That was a tape. So, Bob, Gelmacher, you were talking to a video.
Yeah, I didn't realize that Steve hadn't finished yet, but so I apologize for that. But like I said, I thought one of the really neat parts of the entire show was the talk that Al Judy's wife gave. And it really kind of pulled the entire thing together and emphasized that we narrow gaugers are a real community. And I've told this to Steve and a number of other people, is that I personally feel that there's probably more synergy for me with the narrow gauge group than it is with my large HO group. And that's exactly what the point that Al's wife drove home. So I just thought it was a very, very nice talk.
I think I could probably get a copy of that video and play that in a couple of weeks just to show it. It was very moving.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Al Judy was the John Allen of ON30, as I refer to him, and deeply missed in the hobby as a master modeler. Are there any questions for Steve Sherill on all those? He went quite prolific in purchasing all kinds of things there, track, structures.
Well, these shows, you go there, and a lot of times you can get just about anything that you were looking for, and it's a good time to do your shopping. I did want to show one thing. How am I going to do this? I wanted to show you the comparison of those two wheels.
It's going to be tough if you got to hold it up.
Am I on? Because I can't see it.
Would you spot Steve, Pat?
There's the wheels from England on the right, and the normal N-scale wheels that we have been using on the left. You can
So-
see how much difference there is.
Is it your right or our left? The larger wheel is which one, from England or not?
Yes, the larger one.
Right, so the larger wheel is the scale wheel from England, and on our right, the video right, is a typical N scale wheel with a heavy flange and smaller diameter. So very much like the beginnings of the ON30 world, where people used HO things in the beginning, and then we scaled trucks and wheels and cars and things to more
The
prototypical.
problem that you have with these wheels is they hit,
They move.
There
on
you
some
go.
models, they'll hit the underframe.
Yeah. Hey, Steve, how
Yes.
do those wheels, how do they match up to like a 36-inch or a 33-inch HO wheel? Do you know?
Bob, I don't know. I honestly don't know. I haven't even looked at that.
Okay.
I mean, well, I don't know. I can't say. I'll have to do that tomorrow or something, but we'll make it work though. We always do.
But now I'd like to segue into an open discussion with our Zoomers. But before I do that, I want to take a little break, and I'd like to run our new Tracks modeler digital magazine video, fresh off the presses from our executive producer, Phil Edholm. This is an early edit, but it'll improve, but here we go. Yeah.
Get more New Tracks modeling by reading the New Tracks Modeler magazine. Each edition of New Tracks Modeler includes exciting articles about modeling shown on the show, other modeling topics, and prototypical railroading information. Other articles focus on outstanding model railroaders and new products from a range of suppliers. Don't miss the photos of the popular New Tracks My Build. You can download New Tracks Modeler for free from the New Tracks Modeling website. Subscribe so you don't miss an issue.
I hope everyone takes advantage of reading that. The July issue I'm working on now, and like I say, it has roughly half a dozen articles from all new authors that we have not first-time authors and first-time new trackers. So now I'd like to move into this open forum in our remaining time. The theme is from Bud, one of our viewers. What's on your workbench? And I'd like to hear from not a quote regular subscriber, but perhaps one of our new viewers tonight. Pat, if you could spot me and just or show the whole group would be good. Yeah, so I don't want to call on anybody like high school, but we've got a couple new modelers on here. There's people that I don't recognize. Oh, we went back to the really need to see the names here, Pat, if you could unspot me.
Let me first show my workbench. There it is, folks. What's on it? I don't know. Believe it or not, I can find everything on that. So that's that. So
Mine is no better after this colossal build. I'll have to spend a day cleaning it up. Let's hear from one of our new subscribers or new viewers here. Somebody that you don't have to physically show your workbench, but just verbalize who you are, where you are, and what you're working on. Patrick Waldron. I don't recognize you. unmute yourself. See that little bottom left-hand corner? There you go. Welcome to the show. I don't.
Thank you. Basically, well, I live in Atlanta, Georgia. Retired.
Live in Atlanta, Georgia. Retired. Live in Atlanta, Georgia.
You have two things on. Do you have a phone and a
Two things on. Do you have a phone and a two things on? Do you have a phone and a two things on?
What's
We'll get back to you.
We'll get back to you. We'll get back to you.
What's going on here?
What's going on?
He has to turn off his
Yes,
mic.
to turn off his yes, 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 to turn off his
Echo.
Echo.
Start over again. Anybody wants to talk, you'll have to unmute yourself.
Okay. I live in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm retired, and I have several different model groups I'm with. Actually, I'm into traction, O scale, and HO, and also OM30. And I was a traction guy forever, and then I had to not. I went down to Brazil for some work, and came back with an apparently incurable interest in 30-inch gauge railways. So, but the one thing I'm working on now is I think it's a Monster Model Works. Well, I'll show it to you. Hang on.
While he's going there, maybe Kirk Butcher, if you feel like speaking, you could be next. Or Mike. Oh, I guess not. He left. Mike.
He went down to get his model.
Okay, I'm working on their freight house to go on one of my HO modules, trolley modules, that is. But I just gotten started on this, but this is a fabulous model to put together. And I'm using Greg Cassidy's, or will be using his use of the paint pens that he demonstrated, I guess, several months ago. So that is working. I think that will work very nicely.
You go by Pat or Patrick?
Anyone you want, except Palm Beach. Don't tell me that.
Well, Patrick, how about you take photographs of your model as you go, and you and I can do a PowerPoint, and you can talk to your slides. How would that?
Okay.
Start taking.
Actually, I've actually started taking some pictures of it as I go, so that'll work out fine.
Take them with a nice background, so there's a blank background behind them.
All right.
All right, thank you. And let's speak to somebody else here. Mike Turner, I don't know him, or Kurt Butcher, or Mike, I can't pronounce it, Boutel. One of you three, if you want to unmute, first one that unmutes can start. What's on your workbench? Just tell us verbally where you're from, what scale you model in, and what's on your workbench. or not. How about, then we'll fall back to some of our regulars.
Okay, here you go. I'll show you what's on my bench right now. I just finished painting this caboose that's from Carroll Creek, or putting a primer on it. And I haven't decided if that's going to be the color or if I'm going to put a lighter shade over it. But that plus the little locomotive in the background here will go with the two new mine cars that I bought from Carroll Creek up at the show. And they'll go on the layout that I'm working on right now, the ON18.
Go ahead, why don't you tell them what you're going to do with that layout? Where we're going to take it?
Oh, this will be going to shows like the Timonium show and next year's Harrisburg show to go on the New Tracks Modeling Scholarship table to draw attention so people come over and we can get them to donate or maybe get them to sign up if they want to fill out an application. Also, you see, I have two of those Cato drives back here. Well, I only had one a couple weeks ago. I found the other one on Amazon for 18 bucks.
There you are.
Yeah. Now, I think it's 21 now because I just looked recently, but maybe it'll go back down to 18 next week. Who knows?
Still, it's short money for a locomotive.
Oh my God, absolutely. That's going to power the little Shay right there.
Yeah. And it's an interesting way to get into another scale is to, even if you're a HO guy or an S gauge guy or an full O scale guy like our producer tonight, Pat Rivard, if you guys wanted to get into another scale, ON18 would be an interesting one. You might be able to squeeze it in on your O scale layout or do a little micro or mini layout if you are in some alternative scale. How about our Canadian friends, Gary Shergold, who's a master model railroader and a master model builder. And he's been on the show before. You have anything on your workbench, Gary? Unmute yourself. You're muted. You're muted still.
Muted the wrong.
There you go.
Yeah, I have a couple of building projects I'm working on right now. Been mainly busy with Pat working on his MMR, but haven't been doing too much. A lot of the outside gardening work, and that has to be done.
We're not concerned with weeds here on ON30 or on New Tracks Modeling. So maybe later this summer we can have you on the show again with one of your models.
Yeah.
Let me switch to Jeff Jordan, who I know always has something up his sleeve and on his workbench. And I know he has that rotary snowplow that he's going to surprise us with having that completed at some point. It has 9 million metal parts and no instructions, right?
Yeah, that's a ways off. Don't hold your breath on that one. But I was up at Harrisburg as well. I came back with a bag full of stuff from Harrisburg. Les, who 3D prints figures, and I saw him and said, "So what's new?" And he pointed to the end of his table and said, "Oh, I have 24 new figures." And so I came home with several of those to work on. Also, in keeping with the Carroll Creek theme, I stopped by and I came home with one of their burn barrels, which I really like. It's a 55-gallon drum with a fire in it and a flickering LED to illuminate it. And it's ready to go. I just have to drill a hole on the selected spot in the layout, and some of Les's figures will be standing around the burn barrel, I guess, warming their hands.
Does that we got Bob on the line here if he unmutes himself. That does that burn barrel require a dropping resistor, or is that built in, or how are we with that?
It says it's ready to go with 12 volts.
Oh, that's great. I'll have to order one then myself, or a couple of them.
They had one running at the show, and that's really caught my eye.
They put me back in a room where I couldn't bother anybody, so I didn't see a lot of this stuff. Let's switch to Burnt, who's too comfortable. What do you have in your workbench, Burnt?
Well, I went down the rabbit hole of paints. I got interested in a guy on the Model Railroad Forum. He's a painter, and he's mixing his own paints to come out. It looks like flow quill or scale coat. So I've been kind of went down that and started playing around with testers paints. Once I found out that you need the three colors, red, blue, and yellow, and you can mix all your own colors. Then you
Yeah,
use
pretty much.
black for toning and lightening. So that's one thing I've been playing around with. I built a portable paint booth, and I was going to see if I could spray the volatile liquids inside and then filter the air through a charcoal filter. Well, that didn't work out too well. I had the wife screaming upstairs, "Your basement stinks." So, so what I did is I bought one of the on Amazon.com. I followed a guy called Barbados Rex. He's into doing the model cars and paint, and he had a lot of different paint booths he used. And I bought one of those waterfall paint booths that the water falls over the top. And where I worked, they had one like that too. And I kind of liked it because you walk by the booth, you didn't smell any paint because it all sucked it into the water and outside, which I thought, well, with a charcoal filter, this might work inside. Well, it didn't. I finally wound up this past weekend of venting it outside. Now everything works fine. So that's another project I've done. Plus, I'm working on an HO130 rotary, building a rotary dumper for my quarry cars, which part of it's still in the mill back there, and the other part's sitting on the bench. And unfortunately, tomorrow we go up to my northern camp, and I won't be back for a while. So my modeling projects are on hold, probably till this fall sometime, around September, October.
Well, we look forward to hearing you from then. All right, we have time for one more. Do we have any volunteers, or do I get to pick somebody again?
No, you got to volunteer.
Okay.
Okay. This is okay. Oh, there it is. Okay. This is Jim King's from Smoky Mountain Model Works. His new ON30 truck. He probably had them at the show. Okay, can you see it?
Yeah, it's a freight car truck or passenger truck?
Yeah, right.
It's dark.
Okay. All right. Well, and here's the comparison Blockman truck, the two side by side. So you can see how much difference it is, and more the detail on Jim's is fantastic.
What's the name of his company?
Smoky Mountain.
Okay.
Smoky Mountain Model Works.
Okay. All right. Well, that was an interesting show, and I hope you all liked it. And I encourage you to participate in the My Build coming up. Things around the water. All you have to do is go on our website or go on our Facebook page or look at one of these YouTube segments and pick up the email. Send your photos. You don't have to do anything but send the photographs. Chris Course will put together the PowerPoint, and all you have to do is talk to your slides. Or if you don't even want to do that, put a description with each photo, and Chris will talk his way through your slides. This is a great way to participate in the live show, and the more we do on the My Build. It is one of our most popular segments. So, well, now I'd like to do the show closing.
Yeah, Father Ron.
Yeah, we have Father Ron live, so if he could do the closing, and then we'll have a caboose. If you spot him, please.
He should spot automatically.
Master Maker of the Universe, our scale models imitate your creative spirit, and we learn the genius of your handiwork. Teach us to appreciate all you have made. Amen.
Thank you, Father Ron, and as I have frequently said, we appreciate your modeling skills and your wisdom, keeping our show at a high plane ethically. Now we'd like to do a caboose, and here we go. I want you guys to note when the train crosses this bridge off to the right are 3 abandoned bridge abutments, or 2. So there must have been previous trestles or something. Little modeling note.
It's a long ways down too.
This is what, Argentina? Is that what he said or something?
Peru.
Peru. You know, they have such a great safety record with these things down there.
Notice the telegraph lines on the side?
Notice those. Notice the girders look like the ones on my mining operation. Must be from the 20s. Or earlier. It's one of the highest railroads in the world. I think it goes to 15,000 feet. It actually looks like it's very well maintained.
The first mistake would be the wrong one.
Looks are deceiving sometimes.
It'd be nice to do in the model.
Look at that, huh? 15,000 feet. Well, that concludes our show, and thank you all for participating this evening, and thank you to the YouTubers who are parallel to us watching this, and we'll see you next Wednesday, 7 p.m. Have a good evening.
You were talking about the highest railroad. I think the Chinese built one up in Mongolia that's so high they have to pressurize the cars, the passenger cars.
Really?
You have to go through TSA before you can get on it?